Good morning and welcome to the new episode of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. Indic philosophy is presumed to be a philosophy that is the understate of the most of the philosophies of the world, as we had discussed earlier. However, I'd like to point out one thing, and that is that this philosophy is not something which is explicit the way the Stoic philosophy was, or the philosophy of the modern philosophers is, whether they were Aristotle, Plato, going on to the modern one like Bertrand Russell. They stated their philosophical doctrines, dogmas, and concepts absolutely in clear terms. However, the Indic philosophers were more clear headed in the sense that they didn't want to appear to be palpable teaching. They wanted to present their ideas and their concepts as parables. As a matter of fact, if you look at the history of the world, all religions earlier used parables to convey the moral lessons. And Indian concepts were not much too different. As a matter of fact, it's much better to convey your philosophy through parables, through stories, without palpably teaching. People absorb those concepts much more easier. And now coming to the climate issue, which is agitating the world all over, we find that Indian philosophies can provide a very solid base to climate engineering. So don't be shocked. If you look at the Intergovernmental Panel on the Climate Change, IPCC, the scientific body of United Nations, mandated to study climate change. It defines climate change engineering as deliberately altering the climate system to counter climate change. So, climate engineering is a deliberate, conscious concept and effort to change or alter the climate and thereby offset the fear that has been generated all over. And according to the scientific consensus, the only way to limit climate change is cleansing the toxic elements through climate engineering. I'll call that negative emission techniques that will remove carbon dioxide from the planet's atmosphere. They call it CDR and will reduce the amount of sunlight reaching the earth. That is SRM. Now, the carbon dioxide removal is essentially about managing air at earth. Now you remember the concept of the air, earth, fire, water, the five elements. So carbon dioxide removal, which is a very integral part of climate engineering, is about managing your air and your earth. And the other part, SRN, the solar radiation management, is about managing the sun. Now you can control the ultraviolet and the infrared rays coming to the earth, or you can control ozone hole, or you can control carbon dioxide emission. Your problem is not exactly solved, but the intensity of the problem is reduced to a large extent. So carbon dioxide removal and solar radiation management, these techniques have a base in the Indic philosophy. The CDR techniques involve carbon dioxide, and other greenhouse gases, methane and like that, from the ocean and the land. So the third element comes in. It was first I talked of the air and the earth, and now the water, ocean. The technique using bioenergy with carbon capture and storage, using biochar charcoal for agriculture purposes, ocean fertilization, enhanced weathering, and direct air capture. These are the various aspects of the climate engineering. Now you would be thinking that I'm talking of the scientific ways of climate engineering. How does it affect the people? A, B, how is it connected with our philosophy? Now, SRM technologies include reflecting sunlight to control global warming and using solar energy for planetary sustenance. So it has two benefits. A, use solar energy for planetary sustenance and control sunlight by reflecting it back. The various methods are being employed to reflect sunlight. The latest being the new whitewash. It's pure white paint. You paint it and the house, you don't need air conditioning. So, coating roofs with the light colors, using reflective plastic sheets on the deserts, pumping colder water into Arctic sea surface, spraying seawater into the atmosphere to increase the reflectivity of clouds, injecting aerosols into stratosphere, and placing mirrors that orbit around the Earth. These are about 8 methods that are used to reflect sunlight back so that this Earth is not heated beyond endurance. There's several, if you look at it, Euro American religious leaders have expressed their concerns about CDR and SRM technologies, which are climate engineering technologies. They say it's playing God with nature. And Asian leaders have also begun expressing their perspective on this issue. Now comes the Indic philosophy, the Hindu philosophy. From the perspective of Hinduism, climate engineering involves dealing with the five natural elements: space, air, fire, water, and earth. Now, these five natural elements are called Panch Mahabhut. And according to the Hindu philosophy, the human body and the five elements are interdependent. So, what when we call the climate change and the human action, that interdependence comes into being. And Hindu philosophy is very clear and perceptive, I would say, that they say that there's an integral, emotive, and physical relationship between body and these five elements. You destroy water body, you destroy the earth, you destroy the earth, and who's going to suffer? You are going to suffer. These five elements have to be protected because the protection of these five bodies results in protection of the human body. And all the human bodies combined make this mass of humanity. And that's why I say the whole universe is a family. This word whole is one family. So the interdependence and the interconnectivity, which is the base of Hindu philosophy, or rather, let me call it Indic philosophy because some of people may be allergic to the use of the word Hindu. and the environment is very close. Not only Hinduism, but even Jainism, if you look at it, refers to the five elements as living beings with soul, and that merits compassion and non-violence. Now, when you indulge in deforestation, you are committing an act of violence against earth. When you contaminate the air, you are committing an act of violence against air. When you pollute the oceans, you are committing an act of aggression against the ocean. And naturally, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Since you are not being compassionate to water, to earth, to air, to fire, and to space, the the debris in space now are not being cared for, and the time would come when they might be a real danger to the human society. So that being so, and since these five elements are assumed to be living beings with souls who should be recipient of compassion, of friendship, of regard, and loyalty, they are being violated. Now look at the two Hindu legends, which are very important, mythology, and that will help you understand the two primary climate engineering strategies of SRM and CDR. SRM, again, I said, solar radiation management or carbon dioxide removal. Now, these two legends form the base of Indic philosophy that is helpful to understand the climate engineering. One legend is close to what we seek to achieve in CDR, that is to cleanse some of the toxicity we have accumulated in the recent past. And this legend, this mythology story, deals with that. In this legend, a negative force is created accidentally, and a specific power is created to rectify the mistake. Mysura was a king who gained near immortality after a long, rigorous penance, worship, where he would be invincible to all accepted women. So this god of the chief demon, Asura, he became almost invincible. He had prayed, he had worshipped Shiva, and he had got the boon of being immortal. So after he got the boon of being immortal, he defeated the divine powers, Devas, assumed their position, usurped them, threw them out of their place, and since he was immortal and he had defeated the angelic forces, because of his near immortality, he began using his power to destroy the earth. Now look at the comparison. The nuclear powers of today the powers of today are out to destroy the earth, either capture it or be destroyed. That is it. What happened in Iraq, what happened in Libya, what happened in Afghanistan, where the whole land was devastated, or what happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So that was what Maitra was doing. So the heavenly forces, the angelic forces were very angry at the victories of Maitra, but they were powerless to control them. So they assembled and thought of a plan. They created a powerful mass of light and strength. And what was the base of that? This light and strength originated from their collective anger and the energies, and this mass then transforms into a powerful Mahishwara Mardani. Mahishwara Mardani is a new form of a goddess that was created, whom we call Durga now. She was endowed with weapons and the power of each of the gods. So the new form of an incarnation of Shakti. Shakti is power that runs the universe. She killed the devil, Maitra, and saved the world. Now, the meaning. Maitra represents the human fallibility, and Maitra Mardani, Durga, represents human fallibility, that is Maitra, and Mardani, Durga, represents capability. So if you are capable, you can always defeat the evil forces. By our fallibility, we have accidentally created or willfully created toxic elements in our atmosphere. We have polluted the oceans, we have degraded the soil, we have spoiled the air, and we are spoiling the space. So, it's our capabilities, we need to remove them as soon as possible. Alternatively, it also means that Maitra, the greenhouse gases, will remain immortal unless you develop a new panacea to remove them from the planet forever. So this is a removal of the toxic elements, like Maitra was removed. Another legend about SRM, solar reflection management, is mentioned in Mahabharata, the longest Indian epic. It narrates a power struggle between two cousin clans, Kauravas and Pandavas, and the final war, Mahabharata. And in this epic, most of you who have read it know, there's killing of a villain called Jadar by Arjun with the help of Krishna. And one point in the war, Arjun takes an oath to kill Jadar before the sunset of the next day. He cannot find Jadar, who has hidden behind an impregnable wall of the soldiers through the day. So moments before dusk, Krishna temporarily stops the sunlight, creates the illusion of sunset, which Jadar is able to understand, not rather able to understand, that this is a illusion. So he steps out from the hiding and seizing the opportunity, Arjun kills him. Now compare the problem of climate change with a hostile character Jadar and Krishna's act of creating a temporary illusion as an SRM technique. The sunlight which was coming to the earth has been reflected back. Now, SRM technique also, like Krishna controlling the sunlight, aims at the same thing. The only thing is you are controlling the sun rays for a short time. So you can use that period to work in unison with a similar urgency to deal with the root cause of the problem of the climate change. The analogy from the above legends is that both CDR and SDM techniques should be deployed with significant responsibility to avoid further side effects. If you suppose reflect the sun rays absolutely and no rays come, then the whole regenerative capabilities of the earth would vanish. So you have got to strike a balance. Our mistake is the human mistake, which is there, that we always go to the extreme. Over the last few decades, The advances in science and technology have served as a boon, enhancing the quality of life and progress. But they have also served as a cause of concern. The alarming consequences of the reckless use of resources have contributed to the climate change, and that threatens the very existence of this universe, this earth. So, in other words, now we need to stop playing God, rather, stop playing Maestro. Now we have got to take action as Durga. We need to be fair towards nature. We have to look towards the five elements as things having soul, needing compassion, help, loyalty. We need to be fair towards nature itself as we evolve newer technologies to protect and preserve the environment for the future generations. At the same time, we have got to be very careful not to let the geoengineering fall into the wrong hands. You may suffer the consequences not only for this generation but for generations to come. Now, Indian, or rather I'll say Indic, ethical ideas based on Hindu, Buddhist, and Jain texts and contexts inspire us to be more responsible, sustainable, ethical to protect and preserve the planet. These concepts, wrapped they are as in the parables and the fables and the mythical tales, inspire the contemporary policymakers, and if they don't, they should, so that the issues related to climate change and other environmental threats can be faced effectively. And that is possible if we interpret those philosophies in their real sense of term without losing sight of the context. Thank you.